You could do something with that. I could do something with that. Baseline. What's up, Reason fam? My name is Hilton Wright. I'm a 6-time Billboard #1 platinum record producer and songwriter. And my discography includes artists like Drake, Mike Posner, Big Sean, Sofia Reyes, Cast of Blackish, Faith Evans, and many more. Today we're going to talk about developing a signature workflow in Reason and how it can streamline your production process. So let's get right into it. So when I'm thinking about my personalized production workflow in Reason, it all starts with my default template. So if you're familiar, within the menu or the preferences of Reason, you have an option to select a template for your default song. And this is what mine is called, 715 Studio. 715 is the name of my company. This is at the heart of my template. A piano. The first thing I want when I fire up Reason is to have a piano active. And so, you know, I might be hearing some chords, or I might be hearing a melody, or sometimes I might just want to play. I might want to just play around, or my son runs in here and he wants to play the piano. So all I have to do is click Reason, and this is armed in the sequencer, ready to go as the first thing. So then I'll go down. I have Machine set up. If you all saw my prior video that I did, I talk about how I use Machine within Reason in this kind of like very unique way. Then I go down and I have the drum. So sometimes it might not be Machine, but it's just having it armed. So I'll have loaded up, and then, but I have it preceded by beat map. So I use beat map and drum sequencer interchangeably. Beat map is a lot quicker. They both serve their purposes. I thought that when beat map came out that it would replace drum sequencer, but I found that drum sequencer still has like some advantages. But I love beat map because I can just quickly, you know, here's one of my favorite things about beat map. So if we load up, I'm just gonna load up some type of kit, right? And then just hit the random density, right? We're halfway home already, right? So now all I can do from there, I can just adjust what I do and don't like. I'm all about smarter, not harder. Work smarter, not harder. And so obviously the random density, it's really random. I mean, like, watch this. Of course, you can go change your map. Change the kit. So, I mean, like, here's the thing. I don't have writer's block or beat block because I'm well prepared with the tools that I have. So I'll go down. I always have to have a Dr. Octorex. Every one of the tracks I put out has some type of loop in it, whether it's like a shaker, or maybe like a guitar from the factory sound bank, like doing something really minimal. Again, go back and watch the other video. I talk about like some tips and tricks there. But one thing that's different about this is I have some settings on here. I've selected the select slice by MIDI. And so that way, and what I'll always do is, you see I have it folded down because I always load from down here. So instead of loading into, because when you load, you can load like a single Rex file here, but it'll override any settings here. And so I'll always have the select slice by MIDI selected. So whenever I load in something, and then we go back to play, you know, I can see where this is going. Maybe I should just make a beat off of this, right? See, like we're done. Now I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole. I can sit up here and mess around with the chord progressions and whatnot. But you get an idea. I was just what, like a F minor 7 chord. Very, you know, anything that's 7th chord over these types of drums is gonna give it like that house type of feel. Anyway, like I said, I could be up here for days figuring that out. But we're halfway there, you know, bass line. All right, cool. So I'll go down. Now I have 3 MIDI outs. These are going to 3 hardware synthesizers that I have. So the SEO2, which is right here. I'm going to turn all of these on. Probably should have done that before I started the video. But the cool thing is, then this is the D05. And then I have the JU06A. Oh, there we go. The best thing about having the MIDI out is, you know, I'm not a piano player aficionado. I know my theory, I know basic chords and whatnot, but this allows me to use players with all of these external devices. So if I come up here to players and like, let's take bassline sequencer and go over to this SEO2. I'm gonna turn that off because I don't know how this is gonna sound. So I'm gonna load this up. Right, and so I'm triggering a hardware. Then this is analog. These other 2 are digital. Like they're doing an emulation type thing with the D05. The D50 was a digital synth, but the Junos, those were analog. But the SEO2 is analog. So, you know, this is like this best of, you know, marriage, best of both worlds that I was talking about in the other video where I did the example with machines. So, like I said, this is just, honestly, a lot of what I'm doing these days is just more puzzle piecing, you know, and figuring it out and tweaking things. And I'll first think about like the core thing, whatever that is. If it's drums, if I know, I think of my drums in this way: selection, programming, and mixing. So if I'm starting with drums, then I'll make sure I have like that right collection of sounds. And surprisingly, like the factory sound bank still has just like tremendous assortment of sounds. So whether that's me getting a patch for Kong, a patch from even red drum or redrum, depending on how you want to pronounce it, or NNXT, or just grabbing different sounds from there, and then using beat map, or vice versa, doing the same thing with machine and mixing the 2. That's what I talked about in the other video. Those are kind of like the different ways. And then once I say like, boom, these drums, like, yep, that's there, then I'll start going and moving on. So that is the breakdown of my default song template. So one of the hardest parts for me in the production or the track building part of production is sometimes arrangement. So here's something that I pulled up. And if you come over here and you select new from template, you can see like this long list of templates that I have, right? And so These ones, some of these are what I'm calling just arrangement templates. And if you look at this, it looks like a full complete song. If I press play, it's silent. There's nothing here. But what I've done is this is a particular song that I liked and was listening to, and what I literally did was I played the song on repeat and I mapped it out in Reason. And now if I either I'm working, I could be working on a song like that I like, I could be working on a track idea that I have, and I might have like built out 11 different tracks, instruments, and now it's time for me to break it out into an arrangement. This gives me a guide for where I could go and how I could take that and, arrange some of those instruments. Or I could come in here in this template and literally start coloring within the lines. And, it's something that I found to be useful. Now, I've only used this maybe 2 or 3 times. And I've had these arrangement templates that I made like a few years ago. The idea is to be prepared for whatever scenario you're in, because different projects that come my way, maybe it's coming, the approach I take might differ from something else, and you never know where or how you'll get stuck. So it's just good to have these tools at your disposal. So, I might come into the chorus section, and what I've done is I've labeled these, and I said main melody. So now I know that I have a main melody that is going to be, turn on the click. That's, 1 bar long. This is 65 beats per minute. And so now my main focus is, let me just figure out a really dope melody that is that length long. Then here's a counter melody. And that counter melody is going to be double that same time. So this is a counter melody harmony. Then this is a tonic riff, a fifth riff. I mean, I literally broke these songs down. And like I said, this is just a starting point. I might come up with this melody and the counter melody, and then I might be off with the races, and I might throw all of this other stuff away. But maybe you need to get something done, or you want to do, a track, an idea, and you just, for some reason, you just don't know where to go, what to start. This is like a cool guide. Here's another template that I created. This is 16-step Kong to the SSL. So, with Kong, I'll show you what's going on here. I have the Kong routed out with each pad going to a channel on the mixer. And then I have a drum sequencer going to each pad in Kong. So yeah, this is awesome. Again, I can just load up. Let me just load up. I'm going to load up the most basic factory Kong kit. These are the lower Kong rows. And then here are your presets up here. Random. Yep, there we go. Boom. Let's see how this sounds. You could do something with that. I could do something with that. Now what if I went back up here? That has a very early 2000s Neptunes feel, right? So if I had something like this, I just solo out like the couple parts that were good, and I might throw everything else away. These are the ways that you can jumpstart your creativity and your process. So probably I'd say like the biggest contributor to streamlining my workflow and my production process in Reason are going to be my favorites list. If you come over, you hit F3, and in this window here, you can see I have a ton of favorites list. And one thing, I think the way that I approached these was I would think of different things I wanted to have readily available or different categories, whether that is, 808s, all the different 808s. Not only do I have like one shots in here, that's from the factory sound bank, all factory sound bank. Don't sleep on the factory sound bank. I also have patches, like a Thor patch. I also have 808 loops. Then I also have rack extensions. The Punch BD rack extension, which is just kicks and 808s. And it's just so many different. I even have 808 bass lines. This is gonna trip you out. These are bass lines. Maybe like I heard a song and I just love the 808 bass line. What I could do is I could go and replicate that same pattern. I'll keep the click on. So now if I'm working on a song and I need a bass line, and you can see that I have the tempo switching, right? So I'll take these and then I'll copy and paste them into another session that I'm working on, and then I'll adjust it from there. Again, working smarter, not harder. So another cool favorites list that I've done is one called Nice Finds. Sometimes when you're in the middle of making a track or when you're browsing your library, which I'll get to in a minute, you might hear something that perks your ear. You're like, ooh, that's cool. Oh man, I could use that. And I drag it over here. So that way I'm not distracted. I don't have to start working on something else while I'm in the middle of something, but then I can go back, or when I'm stuck in another session, I can just go to the Nice Finds and I can start a whole new track, a whole new song off of the stuff in here because it's like stamped, it's certified, like this is dope. So favorites list, favorites list, favorites list. You see I have one for chords. Chord sequencer, Easy Keys by Toontrack, my favorite. Polystep sequencer, and then I even have MIDI stuff. And I also have the MIDI stuff in the MIDI. MIDI keys, MIDI drums, melodies. So you're thinking I need a melody, pattern mutator. Like, honestly, like this is probably like, I could spend the whole video talking about favorites lists because it's that important. So those are favorites lists. Get yours together. So you can see me use a combination of all of these different tips and tricks in my studio.com class, where I write and produce the song you wanted that was cut by the artist Javante and made it to editorial playlists on Apple Music and Spotify. Studio.com/HW. Definitely follow me on social media. My handle is DeuceWT, DEUCEWT, and we'll include all that below. Check out my music everywhere music is available. Hilton Wright II. Thank you so much for checking this out. Hopefully you found some tips and tricks that are extremely useful in your music making process. Can't wait to see what you do with everything that we talked about today. All right, peace. I'm Hilton Wright, and welcome to my studio. I'm a 6-time Billboard #1 platinum record producer and songwriter known for my versatility across the industry. I've written and produced hundreds of songs for the biggest artists in the world like Drake, Mike Posner, Big Sean, Sofia Reyes, Faith Evans, and many more. I've composed award-winning music for TV, including the song Juneteenth for the hit ABC TV show Blackish. And I've scored commercials for the biggest brands in the world, from Walmart to Jeep. To maintain this level of creative output, I've developed my own unique set of tools, templates, and techniques that allow me to consistently transform my ideas and inspiration into finished tracks. If you're the kind of person that makes tons of loops and voice notes but struggles to actually finish your tracks, you're going to learn methods in this class to help you get to the finish line more often and more consistently. During the class, I'll bring you into my studio and share with you my entire creative process from start to finish. You'll follow along as I transform a simple idea into a finished song, starting from brainstorming initial concepts, crafting lyrics and melodies, and producing the final track. Along the way, I'll be explaining everything that I'm doing, my thought process, my techniques, the exact tools I'm using, and the decisions I make. I'll show you how to create the perfect balance between verses, choruses, and bridges, and how to produce and arrange your song to enhance its emotional power. Woo, that's gonna be crazy. By the end of the class, you'll have new tools and techniques that'll hopefully help you more consistently turn your ideas into fully realized finished songs. So come join me, Hilton Wright, for this unique learning experience inside my studio.